Here at SCF, we have decided this year that we really needed to get a head start on getting our plants ready to get to the field. So we decided that we would get a lot of plants into the greenhouse. So here you see Shahid is mixing the potting soil that we will use to plant our seeds into the trays and get them into the greenhouse to give us a good start on getting plants ready for the field, as opposed to direct seeding them to the field, which will slow us up probably 3 to 4 weeks, and getting them into the greenhouse will give us that head start. So he's mixing the additives into the potting soil and getting things ready so that the plants will get the nourishment that they need, as well as the air that they will need. Gamel is helping him to get the trays filled now so that we can get all the potting soil in. And this way, if we get the potting soil into the trays, then that will speed up the process when we start to seed, because we don't have to pack the trays and then seed. He's using here a peat moss kind of cup, the kind of cups that we use for planting things like squash or watermelons, things whose root system is not as strong and does not want to be disturbed when transferring them from the cups to the field, or from the greenhouse to the field. We will plant that cup. And you see here Shahid and Gamel is starting to put the smaller seeds into the trays. Now these seeds will be transplanted to the field just the small plugs will be transplanted directly from these trays to the field. And you will see later just how we do that. You'll notice that Gamel is helping Shahid out, and he's showing us now the label that we will use to put on the tray so that we are aware of what everything is. So that's the label. And now Shahid is actually going from the seeds trays to the actual planting tray. He has the seeds already set up in a tray. He'll use this planter, which makes it really a great asset, because with these small seeds, to drop just one seed in a tray at a time would take pretty much forever. But this way he can load an entire row. And you will see that Gamel is helping him out so that he doesn't have to do so much remembering as to exactly where he is. He's pointing out which cell is to be done next. Okay, so what he does is just load one entire tray and then move that tray aside and get another tray, which it's already been filled with soil. Like I said earlier, we do the potting soil so that this process goes much faster. Here we have some Michelini cabbage that was put into the tray on January 22nd, 2011. So we'll put these into the greenhouse directly from the seeding tables. They'll go to the greenhouse. We've got some collard greens. We've got some more collard greens. We're doing green glaze as well as Georgia Southern. And we'll do a couple of other collards this year just to try them out and see which ones we really want to stick with. You see here now the seeds have already been put into the greenhouse and they're starting to pop up. We've got bok choy in the trays. We've got beets in trays. We've got collards in trays. We've got tomatoes in trays. Several things that we wanted to get an early start with. We've also got some broccoli in the trays. Bok choy is going to be one of our really, really big things this year. This is going to be one of our top crops, and so this year we're trying it in a very different way, and we're planting a whole lot more of it. We've got some herbs there in the tray. So you're seeing the trays now at different stages. Some of them, the trays are filled with plants that are 2 to 3 weeks old. Some of them are filled with plants that are pretty much almost a month old, and they're almost ready to go to the field. And these pots, we've got some tomato plants that are starting to grow. And so you're seeing things at different stages, just how we set them up. You will notice that in this shot, you've got a lot of the seed trays that are on like the bottom shelf. and we've got like a cover cloth over the top, and that is done so that the sun, they're kind of protected from the sun, because the extra light that comes into the greenhouse with the seedlings being so young and tender can sometimes burn the seedlings. So Shahid is taking that extra precaution by putting the shade cloth as well as a light cover cloth over to make sure that the seedlings are protected in this young stage, so that we're able to preserve them and not have them burn. So like I said, you see, you're still seeing plants that are in different stages. Okay, all of these are still shots of just things that we're doing in the greenhouse. How we rearrange them, take them from the table to the ground, so that when they get to a certain stage and we put them on the ground, they're able to get some moisture, as well as the moisture that he feeds them. They get some moisture from the ground as well. So it just helps them to grow quicker. The ground warms them up, and because inside the greenhouse is at such a good temperature. Now they're bringing in new plants. I told you earlier that we used the peat plants, pots, for things like squash, watermelons, and those kind of things. So you can be assured that that's the kind of things that he's bringing in now is watermelons and squash. That is the only thing that we put in the peat pots so far. So they're making sure that the labels are there and things are being positioned in the best place so that the plants are protected the way they should be. So now with these plants that are in the peat pot, we will take those plants directly to the field when they're ready, and we'll put the pots in the ground. Those pots will disintegrate and just become a part of the soil and help to be soil builders as well. So we've got more of the peat pots. There we've got a zucchini black beauty. So we've got some early straight necks in some of the pots. We've got some butternut squash as well. So these are not all of the squash that we will plant, but planting these squash in the peat pots gives us a head start, so we can get an early start on squash, and then we'll add the others to the ground. Now these are the plants after they have already, the seeds have germinated and they've come up to this point. They're not quite ready to go in the field yet, but that's just what they look like. Here we have some cucumbers that's in the pot. There we have some beets that we have planted in trays. And these are the bok choys. They're almost ready for the garden. Some people refer to these as bok choy, some call them pak choy, but they're almost ready for the garden. These are more of the squash plants, and you can see that they've gotten a little bigger there. Here you see Miss Fatia is punching the seedlings out of the tray. They're ready to go to the field now. So she's punching them out of the tray, getting them ready so that we can go directly to the ground with them. So she's using her own little makeshift mechanism to take them out. And Mr. Mustafa is preparing the soil. He's making the seed beds and cultivating the soil so that it's in an effort to make sure that we have as much weed control as we possibly can. So that is one of the reasons that we cultivate, is to make sure that we're controlling weeds with this cultivation, as well as we are controlling insect with the cultivation. So many insects do actually live in the ground over the winter, and so we're stirring all of that up. If we get the weeds out, that will naturally take care of a lot of the insects, because some insects just feed on certain weeds, and to get that weed out will go a great distance as far as controlling the actual insect. So here, once he's gotten this cultivated, he will go back and make beds, and we will show you in just a few minutes how we prepare those beds by raking them down and getting out the things that we don't want to be there that will disturb the plant growth. Here you see Shahid is doing just that. He's raking the beds. Two things he will accomplish here. He will get things that will, like larger sticks or whatever that might interfere with the growth, as well as he'll make the soil level so that when we're planting, one of the things that we use to plant is a roller type planter, and the soil needs to be level for that. Kamel is helping him with that process so that the beds are ready to actually do what he's doing now. What I was just telling you, he'll roll these seeds out of this seed roller, and it's important that the beds are level. He's planting either lettuce or spinach because we will use it to plant that kind of thing. So that's what he's doing now. He's planting. So once this is done, when he's finished with the planting, with this seeder, he's able to get a lot more onto the bed, so we utilize space. The plants that you saw Miss Mustafa taking out of the trays earlier, where they're actually putting them into the ground. Now, you'll notice that these plants are very small seedlings. So, like I said earlier, he's putting the entire plug into the ground. We're watering them as we go, so that this is just the kind of thing that we do to give the plants a good start. So the water has been down, and now Mr. Mustafa and Miss Mustafa is actually putting the plants into the ground. Now these bok choys are being put into the ground at about a foot apart. So we put them a foot apart on each side, and each foot is offset on the other side, so that it gives the plant space to grow. She's taking more bok choy out of the tray. This is a pretty tedious operation here, because the plants has to be at a certain moisture in order for the plugs to come out, and so that the soil around it does not fall apart and leave the roots bare. So we spray a little water onto them if they're not just the right moisture at the time when we're taking them out, to make sure that we don't stress the plant out by losing the soil when it comes up out of the tray, because we want all of that to be intact, because the plants are still very young and the root system is still very delicate. But planting them at this stage, while the root system is still growing at such a rapid rate, helps them to get a really good start if your soil is properly prepared when they go to the ground. This is just a video that shows you how to get started with your seedlings, how to get them into the field, what they look like as they're growing, and we will come back to you at a later date and show you what the plants look like when they're ready to harvest. We will also do a video that will show you how to harvest these vegetables and prepare them for market. Thank you so much for watching. See you on our next video.